Good afternoon, all, and welcome to the Red House Roundtable podcast, a collaborative effort between the Youth Parliamentary Network and the Office of the Parliament of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. I am Varun Ramadhar, a former National Youth Parliament, and I am joined by my co-host, who is, interestingly enough, another former National Youth Parliamentarian of the same cohort as I was, Mr. Salandy.
Thank you, Varun, and thank you to our viewing and listening audience for tuning in to this youth-led initiative. In today's episode, we will explore the topic, Waste Not, Want More, Young Voices Reshaping Food, Waste and Sustainability. We are joined by two successful entrepreneurs, Mrs. Sian Cuffy Young and Ms. Rachel Renie-Gonzales, whom we are certain can offer some truly valuable knowledge and spark some insightful discussion into this particular topic.
All right. Well, without further ado, Ms. Sian, I know that you're on a mission to transform the way we think and act towards waste. So I want to allow you the opportunity to just introduce what your thought process was when you were getting into this. And I've actually heard your story about when you were 10 years old and what led you towards this part of environmental conservation and just the consciousness. Mm-hmm. So take us through the thoughts of like a 10-year-old Sian and how that, brought about that desire within you and that passion and how that grew into the individual that you are today.
Wow, we don't have enough time for the full story. But as you said, yes, this journey for me started as a child. My father was in Cub Scouting. So if anybody listening in Cub Scouts, yeah, you. And he taught me their conservation law, which is you always leave a place cleaner than you've met it. So I grew up with that inside of me. It became a part of my own DNA. So there was no littering in our house. There was no throwing stuff down in the car. He had a little bag for us to put our snack wrappers in. So I grew up with that. Having my parents sing bits of paper. I don't even know if they still sing bits of paper, right? But, that encouraged desire for a clean space and picking up after yourself. As a parent now, I used to sing it when my children were much smaller. So now they have that habit, but that whole idea of waste was always a part of who I was and who I am as a person. I was as a child, but and it became part of who I am. And then having that experience with that loaded diaper in Shagarama, straight to face, that will change anybody's life, right? And so that experience did two things to me. One, I made Daddy promise never to take us back there again. And he never did. And I was like, yeah, Daddy actually listened to me. But it really made me want to do something different. And fast forward to 2015 when Siel Environmental was formed. And as you said, the mission is really to transform the way you think and act towards waste. I also worked in the waste management sector. This year I'm celebrating 20 years working in waste management. And seeing all of the things, all of the changes from it being super, super traditional to the inclusion of technology to, it has really waste, and I'm known for saying waste is sexy. Right? Because it is to me. Not sexier than my husband though, but sexy to me, right? And so I really wanted to change people's perceptions around waste, to see it as something valuable, to not see it as something that we just have to use and throw away. And once we shift our mindsets around what we call waste, then we'll really be able to incorporate different practices like recycling and reuse and refill because we see it differently. And so the journey has taken me to working with children. I've written children's books. One of them is named after my daughter, and she's very excited about that. She calls it her book. But it's really important for me to start those lessons from early. And so that has shaped Siel, but it has also shaped Sian.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, that's lovely. That's quite a detailed description of it.
Thank you, Sian. So, Rachel, firstly, we would like to extend our congratulations to you for being one of the esteemed 2025 Anthony and Sabga Awards laureates. And similarly to Sian, can you share what you do with us? Tell us a bit about your background and how the transition from doing a degree in international relations to agri-entrepreneurship happened for you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Shad. So thank you. I still can't believe I'm pinching myself. Getting the highest honor in entrepreneurship was one of the dreams I always had. So it feels great to be at this space, but it took a long journey to get there, of course. International relations, my dream was to work in the United Nations, solve world hunger while being a mom, and all the amazing things that your parents fill in your head and tell you that you're capable of. Luckily, I have a great family and a great support system that led me here. But I didn't get a job, as you can see, and I started my company with my business partner, David Thomas, 16 years ago, D Market Movers Limited. And we wanted, our motto is, we'll work for food. Everything around food. I mean, we work for money too. In this economy, in this time. But yes, so we started in food. We couldn't afford a brick and mortar store, so I had this skill set from going, having my degree, and I started an online business, and we started selling fruits and vegetables, seafood. My business partners from Las Cuevas, and I would put seasoning together, and we created these packages. And what we wanted to do was just bring healthy local ingredients closer to the consumer, because with the high import bills and all these things, I would see my brother grow things that cost $3 a pound, but when you go to the market and someone is telling you, I'll pay you $1, so we really wanted to get the most value out of what we were growing in the most efficient and tech, innovative way. So that was the idea and how it started. We now own an agri-processing company. We are in agri-processing. We help other SMEs with their branding and packaging design around food. And we export, and it's been a crazy ride all around local food and local ingredients.
That's great.
Oh, that's incredible. And hearing that trajectory then, hearing you go from that not being able to start that brick and mortar, having to then be use your genius, solve that problem, and then have that catalyze a sort of like a domino effect, but in the most positive way. It's really incredible to hear. So what I want to know a little bit more about is, given, your respective fields and your obvious successes that you all have had, it is very apparent that you all had a very keen eye for identifying an opportunity that exists within Trinidad and Tobago. And I think opportunities exist all over in various realms, in various fields. I want to know what opportunities do you see exist currently for young persons, and in which spaces in Trinidad and Tobago, and how would you encourage them to take advantage of these opportunities?
So with waste management, to me, the opportunities are endless. I mean, I see them all the time. I remember in the beginning, people tag me in different things. I was like, I can't do all, Somebody else have to see it. And the beautiful thing is that, I love for young people to get into the industry. For most of us, when you study whether it's environmental science, management, engineering, like I did, you're not thinking of going into waste management as your first stop. Right? It's actually the last thing. It is actually the last place that most young people, unfortunately, want to get into. So for me, I had to do a lot of demystifying waste management to make this sector amenable to what young people will want to get into. I have had the privilege of meeting some really awesome young people. Sian, I like garbage just like you, girl. So, it is, I'm happy to hear that. So things like starting a recycling opportunity, a recycling business, but understanding. So firstly, I always say you have to understand the waste type that you're going to work with. And so you may not be able to apply some of the same things to the different forms. So you have to like be clear on what waste stream you want to get into, because this is...
What are the waste types then? What are you said identify the waste types. What are those waste types?
So from plastics, glass, cans, juice and milk cartons, organic material, chemicals, so the list goes on. And one of the things too, before discussion started, we were talking about how wide agriculture is, right? And waste management is the same. Waste management is the generation, processing, collection, treatment, education, disposal. So you can get involved in any one of those aspects of waste management. I chose education because I used to work many, many years ago. I tell you my business. I used to work for Swim Call for a number of years. Right? And that's when I really like developed my love of it. I used to love to go on the landfill. It never used to smell stink to me. So there I honed my skills for waste management and understanding the industry. So for young people, it's like, okay, this is the breadth of the industry. Where do you want to enter into? And then what is the waste stream that you want to work with? Understanding the needs of the country as well, too. Don't just do anything because you like it. That's nice, but what are some of the things we need? What do you see around you that if we had another intervention that could help with the industry? So that's how I find the approach should be.
Yeah, and I think that's similar to agriculture because we have a value chain as well.
You're
so
right.
you can be a farmer, you can be packaging, you can be a processor. So I think the opportunity, for me, opportunity starts with your passion. Okay. So definitely think about what gives you that goosebumps, what gives you that excitement, what do you keep coming back to. It may not make sense as a career in the grand scheme because I just know I like to eat. And I like good
the passion? What is the passion that propelled Rachel to reach to her heights? What if you had to give me your singular passion?
Yeah, it's food. It's good food. My business partner and I would drive. If someone told us in Mayaro had real good pumpkin or something, we would go all the way there to find the best pumpkin if we want to make something. So I think that need for fresh ingredients and good food, my family would always say, like, good meals start with good ingredients, right? So if you want the best ingredients, we go in Las Cuevas and get kingfish and there's seasons for food. Yeah. So there's times a year when a guava is better to eat, like right now, so it depends. So I think opportunity starts with that passion. And then when you go into it a little more, you look at what the problems are, what are the gaps, what are what are the things that you wish existed. Yeah. And what I wish existed is that when I went to a restaurant, I would see food that looked and felt Caribbean. That felt like the ingredients that I grew up eating. And when you go and you eat an iceberg lettuce and you're accustomed eating watercress, for me it was very traumatic. So I think it's definitely finding what you're passionate about and then looking for the gaps and solutions that you could bring to that segment.
Oh, definitely. So the opportunity really lies within yourself. You need to find it within yourself. It has to start
with you, I think. And I mean, I've never met someone excited about garbage.
She got opportunity in a landfill.
But when she says garbage, so we do composting at in our agro-processing space, and it's organic matter. And when I look at the waste there, I'm like, but this was once a beautiful fruit. I see it as it's so wasted. And it's only when we started integrating waste management systems into our business and our culture that we saw, okay, at least it wasn't thrown away. I hate to see food waste.
Yeah.
I will take all the old arugula or greens in work and go home and make something with it. Because I think food waste is it's close to my heart as well.
I remember there are a few of us who just started out in the industry. I think we all were starting our business at the same time, and we decided to create an ugly fruit and vegetable movement. Yes. Right?
Ugly fruits matter.
Oh, yeah, they matter. Because it doesn't mean that they're not nutritious. They're just not looking like the perfect thing that you would see on the shelf, and I was watching a video and the person was saying, well, I don't eat banana when it has the little specks on it. And I was like, are you crazy? That's the best banana. You understand? It's when the banana started sweet, it has the most antioxidant. I was like, and you don't want to eat that? Something wrong with you. But
eat it.
but to encourage, so Especially, and to Rachel's point, I mean, even though I said, like, it's not just about what you like, but what you like is what keeps you going.
Right.
All right? And so as you try to figure things out, that is the thing on the bad days that you'll remember, okay, no, this is why. Yeah, that's what will keep me moving forward.
I want to be here.
So given the discussions so far, clearly both the roads lead towards sustainability at the center of the discussion. So my question to you would be, what is one thing you wish more people understood about sustainability? And it can apply to waste management, it can apply to agriculture, and even businesses, as you all are both entrepreneurs. But I think when we talk about sustainability, I don't think we have enough buy-in from the general public. We have a lot of people who are informed and educated on sustainability and how to go about with sustainable development. But I think we haven't reached the point where the average person could answer that kind of question. So what would you want people to understand more about sustainability?
So when I think about sustainability, I think, again, back to food. What's my favorite thing to eat? I want to make sure I could have it all the time, and that's how we did frozen fruits, for instance. I wanted to have guava all year, so we freeze it and kept it, right? So I think sustainability is almost like, slowly capturing, what's special and fostering that for the future. Right. So in any area, any industry, how do you make it last? And I think everything comes back to people, right? If there isn't that culture there, so it starts with us, obviously, we practice it. When people see me, compost in the factory, we have a lot of young entrepreneurs who actually work with us from the agri programs and stuff like that. And they're like, you could just throw this away. And I'm like, no, this is valuable. This could be compost for future crops and things like that. And I think when you apply real life applications and share that, it works out so well. So I think sustainability is a mindset. It really starts, by practicing it daily. Yeah. So little things like, using over ice cream containers to store food. These are things that our parents kind of taught us very haphazardly. Don't waste that. But I think that, yeah.
Let's recycle the grocery bags.
Exactly. And the best thing you can do too is go to other countries where it is prevalent, and it sort of immediately shocks you into that culture. Okay. So I remember going for a program in Belgium, and I was just like, everything was just all around sustainability, and just spending a week there changed my mindset. So I think find those persons and spaces or where you see it and create that community around it, for sure.
Yeah, and for me, to get people to get on board with waste, sometimes one of the things I ask them is, how would you feel if your garbage wasn't collected for 1 month and everything was just stored in the house and you had nowhere to get rid of it? How would that make you feel?
I would start immediately producing less garbage.
Right? So that will, one, give you an idea of how much you actually generate, right? And two, so it puts things into perspective for you. And two, you realize, okay, one, it's a useful service. We need it. But, it will encourage you to want to act, to want to do something about it. So sustainability for me is moving from the word into action, like taking the next step and understanding that, and as Rachel said, shifting your mindset and understanding that everybody has their role to play and everybody has their responsibility, government, private sector, civil society, you as an individual. Nobody's role is more important. I hate when we play the blame game, right? Because everybody has a critical role to play. But sustainability has to become a part of you and a part of who you are. And to Rachel's point, you really have to understand that it is about where you're from. I love Trinidad and Tobago. I tell people you can't love something and treat it so bad. Like, I don't understand. So if we love this place that we call home, why do we do some of the things that we do? Why are you tossing the bottle out the car still? Why are you dropping the box of fried chicken and fries on the side of the road? Why are we still doing these things if you love this place so much? So sustainability has to be incorporated into who you are, and to give yourself a little grace on the days you forget. Because sometimes I, like forgetful Jenny, as I say, but you give yourself a little grace and and say, well, all right, there's always tomorrow. I'll do better.
Yeah. Thank you very much, ladies, for these contributions.
Well, I see that you all really touched on seeing value. You saw value when you saw the fruit that was being disposed of or probably not properly utilized. And even after that, to make sure that it's converted into compost, and even seeing value in the tossed items to go through recycling campaigns and whatnot. So to recognize value even when the common person might not see it. I think that's not only a key ticket for sustainability, but for us to recognize where a little bit of the opportunity lies too.
Yeah.
Those are the places where the opportunity will come from, is seeing that it's valuable.
Yeah. And it's value in yourself, of course.
Mm-hmm.
That's where it all really starts. So
yeah. So Sian, just so we could get an idea, about how much waste is produced in Trinidad and Tobago, and what are the primary causes of this? And well, the most important one is how can consumers, because I think people looking on, we hear not toss it or not get rid of our garbage, but if we're doing that, how could we do more? How could we show that we love Trinidad and Tobago, like you mentioned, but what more can we do? Can the consumers, can individuals do?
So according to Swimcall's last report, I think we generate over 700,000 tons of waste per year. The average per person, I think we're 1.5 kilograms per person. So let's say, you all remember how heavy primary school book bags used to be? I think secondary school we had timetables and things, so it wasn't so heavy, unless you had like 4 subjects in a day. But roughly, for my daughter's writing essay in a couple months, her bag is very heavy. Mm-hmm. So if she were to take on, and for any parent that has an SEA child, think of 2 of those book bags on your child's back every day. That is how much waste we are generating. And so over 70, I think over 80-something%, 84 if my memory serves me correctly. You all could go and check it, huh? These days, I'm getting a little older now. Right. So, but a lot of, I think it's 77 now. From the recent study, it used to be 84. So we've slightly increased our recycling rates, and that is, but we still have very, very, very far to go. Over 77% of what gets into the landfill can be reused, repurposed, recycled in some way. And I love when Rachel talks about composting, because the majority of the waste that we produce here is food and organic waste, not plastics.
Wow.
Right? So 33% of our waste, which is the largest majority, is food and organic waste. We have green spaces that get cut. We have hotels, we have restaurants, we have food businesses, we have agro-processors. We have all of these industries that are contributing to that number. And so we have to look at, firstly, I say reduction at source. That is important. And it's the reason why I chose food and organic waste to stay in. When I started my journey, I was in recyclables. But last year, I made the very tough decision to shift to food and organic waste. One, because I just love that material. I know people say I'm weird. It's okay. I'll take the weird hat anytime. But I love food and organic waste. I compost at home. I teach people how to compost at home, because it's all about separating waste at source and dealing with it there before we get to, yes, we need some other infrastructural things to be present for us to do it on a much larger scale. But for waste management to work, it has to be, and waste segregation to work, it has to start at source. So it is really important for When you see the value in things to understand, so there's a saying by Annie Leonard, there's no such thing as a way. When you throw something away, it must end up somewhere. It becomes someone else's responsibility. There's no out of sight, out of mind thing here.
Passing the blame.
Correct. And so because we use landfilling as our main method of disposal, it has to go somewhere. You know, I often feel very nervous for people in Beetham because that soil where the landfill is very soft, it's very swamp-like, and I'm using no technical terms, I'm keeping it simple, right? And so the waste can only go in one direction, down. Yeah. And if the water table is there, what will eventually happen? So what are they going to drink? So those are some of the things that keep me up at night, as weird as it sounds, because we need to do what we have been to do the best that we can in order so that we protect people as well. Rachel and I are doing this work because we have a love of people. She loves food more than I do, but I eat because I have to, right? But it also comes from loving people and wanting to feed people, wanting to see. For me, my desire is to just see my country clean. That's why I started all of this. I just want to see my country clean. I just want to walk out the road sometime and see no garbage on the side of the road, nothing in the drain, no bottles, nowhere. That is the sole purpose of why I do what I do.
Understood. Thank you so much for that contribution. So, Rachel, given what she would have said about waste, how do you, with your various businesses, collaborate with farmers and artisans to minimize waste in their operations?
So that's not on my mandate, personally. We try to mitigate waste by finding value for food that are typically wasted. Okay. So, for instance, when we first launched our frozen fruit line, the first thing I did was look at the data. And we had a ton of pawpaw coming into the market, the municipal markets, and it had a very high wastage, both on the farm and in the markets, right? And that's what sort of made us see the opportunity. The price was also very nice. The nutritional benefits, and then just health searches, health and papaya. We know certain superfoods have exploded over time. So there are certain Caribbean ingredients that are just high nutrient, very high. And I think if we can find ways to add value and repurpose it, it's definitely a way to lower that waste, right? As agro-processors, yes, we feel a little better because our waste is going to break down naturally. But at the same time, we give our waste sometimes to pig farmers. Right. We give it, so you find ways to just, and it adds value for him. It minimizes how much he has to spend now on feed and things like that. So I think it's not so much always reduction, but repurposing and finding value. So that's one of the ways we definitely, of course, we show everyone the bin when they come in the factory. And we're like, so proud. Yes, and how much tons of compost we've been able to make. But at the same time, that's one step we can take. And the more we share and highlight it, I think people just get excited.
Yeah, right.
So.
Yeah, I think so. Ladies, what has stood out, I find, over the recent time is what I would call the shattering of the glass ceiling, right? That before we've heard that women had it a bit more difficult to go out there and really make things happen. And I think you two are stand testimony of actually battling that. And now I'm seeing a drive where there is almost more dynamism amongst women. And my question now, since we're two guys now, and what do you think men can do to not only enable our women but assist in the progression and propulsion of you all and of us, because that would lead to us as a society, as a nation, better, and we have better contribution. So what do you think is our responsibility as young men, as men?
Oh, wow. I'll start off by simply saying support. Support in the way you can, and support in the way we need you to be too. Because sometimes Rachel and I are both married women, and sometimes that support for me would look like, I don't need you to say anything, just listen. Or it would mean coming when I have interviews and taking pictures of me. Or it would mean, so it's different things. The waste management industry is still predominantly men. And so it's been a challenge to get more women in the industry, but listen to our needs and then respond accordingly. Simple answer.
Okay. I think once men continues to be their best selves, it just naturally translates. So I think it's not always a competition. I'm always like, my business partner is male also. We have a lot of guys on our team. But yeah, it's definitely, everyone should be their best self, and it just naturally supports each other. So when I'm having my off day, I can definitely take it out on the guys. But it's, yes, that self-development part of it.
All right, then. All right, ladies. This discussion has been definitely one. It's knowledgeable, it's entertaining, and it has really piqued my interest in agriculture, in agro-processing, and recognizing opportunities, and in our role. I think the viewers too would admit that we all have a role and a key role to play in Trinidad and Tobago. So we at the Youth Parliamentary Network would like to thank you for your time and effort and the participation in this Red House Roundtable podcast. All right.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having us. We appreciate it. We could talk and talk and talk and talk.
Oh, definitely.
But thank you. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I would also wish to extend my gratitude to our two participants for a dynamic and enjoyable discussion, and to the Office of the Parliament and my co-host for engaging in this innovative youth-led initiative. It's really important that we spotlight people who are blazing trails in particular areas, whether it be weird waste management areas or agri-entrepreneurship. Thank you to our members of the viewing and listening audience for tuning in and supporting us. And do follow us on all our social media platforms, Facebook, X, and Instagram. And look out for the next Red House Roundtable podcast. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.